The Maranello team is on the verge of an extraordinary transformation for the second half of the 2025 season, but it remains to be seen whether these changes will be enough to break the current drought of victories that has plagued the traditional Italian team. Monegasque driver Charles Leclerc has just made some explosive revelations about what is happening behind the scenes at Ferrari, exposing crucial information about upcoming technical changes that could completely revolutionize the World Championship race. And know that there is much more substance behind these statements than initially imagined. Let's start with the situation that few are adequately highlighting. Ferrari is experiencing a surprising contrast this season. The team remains in second place in the constructors' standings, but is the only one of the top four that has yet to win a single race. That's right, you heard correctly. McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes have already celebrated on the top step of the podium, while Ferrari continues to accumulate podium finishes and disappointments. In 12 races, they have only achieved 4 podium finishes. For a team that ended last season fighting for victories and the constructors' title, this represents a virtual collapse. However, it is precisely at this point that the narrative becomes fascinating. Leclerc is not hiding his frustration. He has been completely frank and acknowledged that the start of the season has been substantially more complicated than they anticipated. And this ruthless honesty from the Monegasque reveals something much more significant about what is going on internally at Ferrari. When a driver of Leclerc's caliber speaks openly about internal battles and unmet expectations, it is because the tension behind the scenes has reached a critical point. The big problem is that Ferrari started 2025 confident that it would maintain the same competitive level as at the end of the previous season. But reality has hit Maranello hard. While McLaren has taken complete control of the championship and established itself as the team to beat, Ferrari has remained stuck in a development rut that simply hasn't materialized as planned. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Has the Italian team completely underestimated the progress of its rivals? What makes this situation even more intense is the fact that Ferrari invested heavily in signing Lewis Hamilton, generating colossal expectations both internally and among fans. The 7-time world champion arrived in Maranello with the promise of contributing his winning experience and helping the Italian team return to the top. But what we have seen so far is a Ferrari that cannot even offer Hamilton a competitive car to fight for victories, let alone the world title. Now comes the part that could revolutionize everything. Leclerc has revealed that Ferrari is about to implement a new rear suspension, which promises to be the differentiating factor for the second half of the season. But here's the key detail that many people are overlooking. This is not simply a conventional technical update. It is a structural change that could completely transform the car's behavior and consequently the performance of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton on the track. And speaking of Lewis Hamilton, imagine the pressure the 7-time world champion must be experiencing. He left Mercedes precisely to pursue another world title with Ferrari, but has found himself in a situation where the Italian team is clearly behind its rivals. Hamilton is not used to going so long without a win, and this could be creating colossal internal tension at Maranello. The question remains, has Hamilton's arrival intensified the pressure for immediate results? There is another aspect that needs to be considered, the dynamics between the Ferrari drivers themselves. Leclerc has always been considered the future of the team, the driver who developed within Ferrari's training program. Now he has to share the limelight with Hamilton, who is a living legend of Formula One. This situation may be creating internal competition that, paradoxically, could either stimulate or hinder the development of the car. Leclerc also made an interesting analysis of his direct rivals. He emphasized that McLaren and Red Bull are clearly ahead, but mentioned that Mercedes seems to be more unstable, alternating between good and bad performances. This could be a golden opportunity for Ferrari, especially if the promised updates really work. But there is a problem. Time is running out. The reality is that teams are already starting to focus on the 2026 car, which will be built under a new set of technical regulations. This means that Ferrari has a very small window to make these updates work and still achieve significant results in 2025. It's a race against time that could define the Italian team's future in Formula One. But here's what really matters. Leclerc has shown impressive confidence in saying that they are on the right track in development. He's not just waiting for miracles. He's confident that the upcoming updates will help close the gap to McLaren and Red Bull. And when a driver of Leclerc's experience speaks with such certainty, it's because he has behind-the-scenes information that we don't have. The timing of these statements is also very revealing. We are halfway through the season, just as teams begin to define their strategies for the second half of the championship. If Ferrari can effectively implement these updates, there is still enough time for a historic turnaround. But if it goes wrong, it could spell the end of the Italian team's aspirations for 2025. The great irony is that Ferrari has two of the most talented drivers on the current grid: Charles Leclerc, who has already proven himself capable of getting the most out of any car, and Lewis Hamilton, who is simply the greatest winner in history alongside Michael Schumacher. If this combination fails to put Ferrari back in contention for victories, is the problem really with the car or with the team structure? There is also the issue of the historical pressure that always exists at Ferrari. The Italian team is the most traditional in Formula One, with a passionate and demanding fan base that expects immediate results. This constant pressure may be affecting the development of the car and the team's strategic decisions. It is a factor that cannot be ignored when analyzing Ferrari's current performance. Another point worth noting is how Ferrari's current situation compares to other difficult moments in the team's history. The Italian team has gone through dry spells before, but rarely with so much talent available in the cockpit. Having Hamilton and Leclerc together should be a guarantee of success, but so far it has been more a source of frustration than celebration. What stands out most in Leclerc's statements is how he balances optimism with realism. He acknowledges that Ferrari is behind, but he does not show despair. This may indicate that there are indeed concrete reasons to believe that the upcoming updates will work. Or it may just be a professional stance to keep team morale high at such a delicate moment. Leclerc ended his statements with a phrase that perfectly sums up Ferrari's current situation. It is up to them to do a better job than the others and try to catch up with those ahead. It is a message of determination, but also of recognition of the current reality. Ferrari knows it is behind, but it is not giving up. The question remains, will these promised updates really work? Or are we just seeing another desperate attempt by Ferrari to stay relevant in the fight? The answer to that question could define not only the rest of the 2025 season, but also the future of the Italian team in Formula One. One thing is certain, the pressure is at its peak in Maranello, and any slip-up could be fatal. What do you think? Does Ferrari still have a real chance of getting back into the fight for victories? Or is this another lost season for the Italian team? Leave your opinion in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news from the world of Formula One.